Caitlin Clark, Sophie Cunningham, and the Indiana Fever just walked into Seattle and broke 8 WNBA records in one night. Not one, not two, 8. And the Seattle Storm tried everything to stop her. Hard fouls, phantom calls, a crowd that wanted her gone. She dropped 32 points anyway. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly which records fell and why one of them took Diana Taurasi 20 seasons to set. Caitlin Clark did it in barely 3. Comment CC record breaker to show your love for Caitlin and the Fever. Why did the Fever walk into Climate Pledge Arena already braced for a fight before the ball even went up? Because outside the building there was a whole scene brewing that had nothing to do with basketball. A rally had formed over comments Sophie Cunningham made about protecting women's sports, and it split into two crowds.
Mitchell! And from Iowa City to the Circle City, a 6-foot guard from Iowa, number 22, Caitlin Clark!
She played last season, this Lexi's first start of 2026, and we are underway in Indianapolis. The China Robinson, Kara Clark, the hit ahead. Hines Allen lost it, but a good look from Clark.
Reporters holding signs thanking her for speaking up and counter-protesters with signs going right back at her. And here's the part that got people talking. Security reportedly pulled down the pro-Cunningham signs while letting the anti-Cunningham signs stay up. Cameras caught it, fans caught it, and by the time the game started, the whole building already felt like it had something to prove. Crowd gathered before the Indiana Fever game in Seattle last night in support of Sophie Cunningham's recent comments about transgender athletes. Few dozen people showed their support of Cunningham and promoted statewide initiatives to ban transgender students from participating in girls' athletics at Washington state schools. Cunningham shared her support for that idea in an ESPN article published last week.
Hines Allen started the opener here a little over a week ago against the Dallas Wings. And getting her second start of the season. And our first two.
Now the interior will be more wide open for those drives.
And as our studio crew mentioned, no Aaliyah Boston for the Fever. What a drive by Jade Melbourne. Almost had a win.
She is playing at a high level, as we heard from Sue Bird coming into this game.
First start by Melbourne this season. And there's Lexi Holt. And if she can do that in addition, Seattle Storm, Sophie Cunningham, great story that she is. We'll get to that later. And that's Jordan Corson, third year for her out of Tennessee. Missed all of last season with that ACL injury. And good defense by Monique Billings. Clark ahead to Kelsey Mitchell, who lays it up in it.
You already know. Shout out to whoever was in the film room and said, hey, this.
Then the ball actually went up and Seattle brought that same energy straight onto the court. Full court pressure, hands everywhere, bodies flying into Clark on every possession. The Storm clearly wanted to speed her up and knock her out of her rhythm before she ever got comfortable. Floj and Jade Melbourne spent most of the night hand-checking and grabbing at Clark. And on one possession, they wrapped their entire arm around Clark's waist with a ref staring right at it. No whistle. Johnson finished with 4 fouls the entire game, which if you watched it, doesn't add up with how she was guarding her. Analysts calling the game live said it flat out, calling it one of the worst officiated games they'd seen because Clark kept getting whistled for phantom fouls on defense while getting hacked on offense with nothing called at all. Clark didn't hunt for a highlight retaliation. She just kept running the offense, kept finding shooters, kept doing her job like the noise wasn't there. That discipline is the whole story of the first quarter. Honestly, the Fever didn't match Seattle's chaos with more chaos. They matched it with 26 of 26 shooting from the free throw line by the end of the night, which tells you everything about how locked in they stayed even while getting hit. Seattle didn't just roll over, though. Give credit where it's due. Natisha Heidman had the night of her career, dropping 33 points on 11 of 20 shooting, and she was 6 of 10 from 3. 6 rebounds, 4 assists, 0 turnovers in 35 minutes. And she led every scorer on the floor that night. Heidman kept clawing Seattle back into it, and at one point in the third quarter, the Storm cut the lead down to just 2 points. So, this wasn't some blowout the Fever coasted through.
2 more assists there.
Oh, good cut and 5. Clark to Billings for the deuce. Second most by a Storm rookie since Sue Bird. Yes, of course. And of course, Kelsey Mitchell lays it up and in. Iron Johnson the rebounds. Hines Allen read that like a book. Look at this ball movement. Caitlin Clark has her first 3 taken away by the Fever. Sophie Cunningham, really that energy player for Indiana, and she floats it up and in. In Los Angeles, Sophie had 12 points in that one, and the defense really led the way, holding the Sparks to 78 points. Back-to-back buckets, and a chance to tack on one more for Cunningham. Johnson handing off to Timpson. Here's the veteran Mitchell. Oh, what a pass! Timpson up and in. That was all Kelsey Mitchell.
Being back on the floor together has been so much fun, and that finding their rhythm is a never-ending thing with so many new faces.
This was Seattle punching back hard, and for a few minutes it actually looked like the hostility outside might carry into an actual close game. Like all these stats should have been a steal or just whatever the refs want to make it. She never gets calls, and they always call ghost fouls on her. It's crap. It really is. But that first quarter is where the Fever answered every question before Seattle could ask it again. Cunningham came out on fire, hitting her first 3 three-point attempts of the game. And all 11 of her points that night came in that opening quarter alone. Seattle's own head coach Sonia Rahman admitted after the game that giving up 37 points in transition that early was the problem, calling it something that should have been controllable and just wasn't. 37-20 after one quarter against a hostile road crowd against a defense trying to rattle their franchise player, and the Fever answered it by playing the cleanest quarter of basketball on the floor. That fast start is exactly what opened the door for one of the wildest record nights this league has ever seen. One of the 8 records that fell that night has only been touched by one other player in WNBA history. And that player needed 20 seasons to do it. Clark just needed a little over 2. Let's start with the stat line that made all this possible, because on paper it barely looks real. 32 points, 7 assists, 4 rebounds, shooting 9 of 14 from the field, 4 of 7 from 3, and a perfect 10 of 10 from the free throw line. 33 minutes on the floor, which is her most minutes in 5 weeks since the minutes restriction finally got lifted. And get this, she dropped 16 points in the third quarter alone, while the rest of her team combined to shoot 0 of 9 in that same stretch. Clark carried a quarter almost by herself. Now, let's get into the records. Starting with the team, that win gave the Fever their 12th game this season, scoring 100 or more points, a WNBA single-season record. And they've still got 17 games left on the schedule to pile on more. And it's not a one-off explosion either, because this was the first time in league history any team has scored 100+ points in 4 straight games. That's not just one hot shooting night. That's a pace and depth thing. 4 games in a row means your starters and your bench both have to keep producing without a single off night dragging the average down. It's what we're here for. It's an effort to start the game. Now to Clark herself. And this is where it gets ridiculous. That stat line, 32 points, 7 assists, 9 of 14 shooting, works out to a true shooting percentage above 85%. And here's the part that stops you. The only other player in WNBA history to put up multiple games like that is Diana Taurasi. Taurasi played 20 seasons to build that resume. Clark matched it in year 3, and she'd already hit this exact same benchmark just over a week before this game, meaning she's now done something Taurasi needed 2 decades for twice in a matter of days. Then there's the 9th career game with 30+ points and 5+ assists, and that number now stands as the most in Indiana Fever franchise history. 9 games. That means Clark alone has more of these games than every other player who's ever worn a Fever jersey combined. And it doesn't stop at the franchise level either, because that same 9th game also makes her the WNBA all-time leader for 30.5 assist games. Not just the franchise record, the league record. In year 3. That's one way to teach a lesson. You keep reaching, I'm going to keep teaching. And then the 4th one, the fastest player in WNBA history to hit 500 points and 150 assists in a single season. Fastest ever. And remember, this is a player who missed most of last season with an injury. So when you hear fastest ever, that's not fastest across a normal 3-year run. That's fastest despite a chunk of that time being spent in a walking boot instead of on the court. Sit with that for a second. Taurasi built her version of this record over 20 seasons of dominance night after night, year after year across 2 decades of basketball. Clark built hers in barely 2 full healthy seasons. Same tier as Taurasi, a fraction of the time it usually takes to get there. Yeah, the floor's getting ready to open up, and Clark wasn't even done being part of the story, because there's still a record with her name on it that belongs to 2 players, not 1. Kelsey Mitchell's about to walk into this list, and so is the number that puts her and Clark in the history books together. How many records do you think Clark will break this season if she broke 62 during her rookie year? Let me know down in the comments below and leave a like. How does a player who can't buy a bucket in the first 3 quarters end up sealing the whole game in the fourth? That's Kelsey Mitchell in a nutshell on this night, because she started ice cold, missing shot after shot, sitting at 3 for 11 from the field at one point. And while she was struggling to find her rhythm, Seattle started clawing back into the game behind Hedeman, cutting that 17-point first-quarter lead all the way down to 4 heading into the final quarter. So, the Fever needed somebody to step up, and the guard who'd been missing shots all night is exactly who answered. Clark has been brilliant. Mitchell exploded in the fourth quarter, scoring 18 of her 28 points in that final stretch alone, finishing the night 9 for 18 from the field and 4 of 7 from 3. That's not just hot shooting. That's a guard deciding the game isn't going to slip away on her watch, taking over exactly when Seattle made their push and slamming the door shut before it could open. In her own words after the game, she said her job is to not give up, to stay resilient, to stay confident, and be ready for the next shot. And that's exactly what you saw play out in real time as she went from cold to unstoppable in a single quarter. That fourth quarter run pushed Mitchell's streak to 12 straight games, scoring 20 or more points. And that now sits as the third longest streak in WNBA history. To put that number in perspective, A.A. Wilson holds the record at 15 straight games. So Mitchell is just 3 games back of the all-time mark. And this streak also happens to be a Fever franchise record, surpassing every scoring run in team history. 12 straight games of 20-plus points is the kind of streak that doesn't happen by accident. It happens because a team keeps finding you the ball and you keep knocking it down night after night, no matter what the defense throws at you. For her first scoring, second in the league at 23 points per game, and that streak is exactly why the next record hits different, because Clark and Mitchell now sit third all-time for combined 25-point games scored together by a backcourt pair. Third all-time for 2 guards playing together on the same team in the same games. That number matters more than any single night of scoring, because it proves defenses can't just load up on Clark and hope for the best anymore. Mitchell's isolation scoring is nasty enough on its own. And one analyst put it simply: but when they are playing together, the ball moves side to side, attacks the paint, finds the next pass, finds the right shot. She compared it to a dance where everybody's got to stay in sync. Multiple players touching the ball, forcing the defense to rotate instead of just guarding one guy standing still. 2 threes for Indiana, 2 twos for Seattle. So, you've got 2 guards who play completely different styles. Clark spacing the floor and setting up everybody around her. Mitchell hunting her own shot and closing games out cold. And together, they've built one of the most productive scoring pairs this league has ever tracked. And while the 2 of them were putting on a backcourt clinic, there was a whole different battle happening in the paint. One that started with a scary scene nobody expected. Aaliyah Boston was cooking. 11 points on 4 of 7 shooting in just 11 minutes, attacking every mismatch Seattle threw at her, looking like the best version of herself all night. Then she went up for a bounce pass from Clark, got tangled with Seattle rookie Flo J. Johnson and landed wrong on her right knee. She grabbed it instantly and couldn't put weight on it, needing help just to get off the floor and into the locker room with the head athletic trainer. The referees do Caitlin Clark so dirty. This is good defense. Should have been a steal. Watch it in slow motion. How is that a foul on Caitlin Clark? They've been doing it all season. She begs for a challenge. Of course, Stephanie White has not challenged one play this entire year for Caitlin Clark, but there's a reason she can't play defense. The rest won't let her. They call out. The whole arena went quiet waiting to see what would happen next, because a second quarter scramble like that changes a game in seconds. Indiana listed her as questionable to return, which meant nobody, not the coaches, not the fans, not even her teammates knew if she was coming back out. She never played the second half, but she did come back to the bench in full uniform, shoes still laced up, and she was seen smiling without any ice on the knee, which is usually a good sign in situations like this. Stephanie White kept it simple afterward, saying it just wasn't worth the risk in the second half and that they wanted to be conservative and make sure she's good to go. Oh man, that's the right leg though. I know it's not a time to be positive right now. Well, this probably is the perfect time to be positive. Look, Aaliyah. Oh, that could be a cracked knee bone. I ain't no doctor, though. Losing Boston in real time meant losing Indiana's anchor in the paint. Right as Seattle started finding easy looks inside and building momentum off Heidman's hot shooting. That's the moment a lot of teams start unraveling because you can't replace a starting center's rebounding and rim protection with a shrug. So Indiana turned to Michaela Timpson, a second-year player who checked in to start the second half and ended up playing 28 minutes, way more than anybody expected from her that night. Timpson finished with 4 points and 4 rebounds, and she had one highlight where she leaked out behind the defense for a fast break layup off a feed from Clark. One analyst even said she sets better screens than Boston and Billings combined, which is exactly the kind of role-player detail that keeps an offense running when a starter's gone. Cheering, screaming, while everyone stayed locked on Clark and Mitchell, Monique Billings quietly put together arguably her best game in a Fever uniform. 14 points, 11 rebounds, shooting 4 of 6 from the field and a perfect 6 of 6 from the line in 29 minutes of pure force. Billings described herself as being in attack mode all night, saying she felt bouncy and good coming out of the All-Star break and wanted to set the tone for the second half of the season. That's a double-double nobody was talking about in real time because the record book was stealing every headline. And then there's Cunningham, who scored all 11 of her points in the first quarter alone, shooting 3 of 4 from 3 and adding 5 rebounds and 2 assists. Seattle's own coach, Sonia Rahman, admitted those uncontested transition threes hurt them right out of the gate. Cunningham brought the physicality Seattle was throwing around all night right back at them without ever losing her composure or picking up a dumb foul. To average the most points per game in league history. Cook gets blocked by Timpson. Clark quickly ahead with it. Clark off to Cunningham looking for another. You bet. Screaming, Kelsey Mitchell put the whole mentality into words after the game. Crediting White for hammering home "we over me" since training camp and saying that next man up mentality gives everybody the confidence to go be who they are. She named Timpson, Billings, and Cunningham directly for filling the gaps left behind by an injured Boston. Aside from the high output scoring of her and Clark, Indiana still scored 105 points in a game where their starting center barely played the second half. And that's the stat that gets buried under 8 broken records. 8 records one night in a building where the crowd got hostile before tip-off and the Storm spent 4 quarters trying to knock Clark off her rhythm. None of it worked. The Fever answered every hard foul and every phantom call with buckets and walked out with the record book rewritten. This proves Clark is back healthy and playing at a Taurasi level 3 years in. It proves Indiana's got depth because Boston went down and the offense didn't even blink. 17 games left and that 100-point streak is still alive.